This is Stirling Talks. Wilson here with you. I've been looking forward to this interview here because I feel like I've got to know our guest today because I recently did a series of Ilaria, what was it? It wasn't a seminar, wasn't it? It was kind of a class, wasn't it, that we did?
Like a training, like almost I would call it like a series of workshops, I would say, because there was a lot of interaction as well. So I would call it interactive workshops. And you've
Interactive
done
workshops.
3 of them.
Yeah, we did 3 interactive workshops through our friends over there, where our studios are at with Creative Stirling. And big thanks to Joe for that. But it wasn't really quite the intro I had in mind. But hello, and thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for inviting me here. It's such a pleasure to join this session as well. And it was a pleasure to have you on my training because I need to say that thanks to Jo, as she gave me trust, and you've been actually my very first client into this space, into this new business space as well.
So this is kind of new for you, and we're going to get into that. So this workshop that we did, and this is something now because we've had quite a few nonprofits on the show. I've done a lot of work with nonprofits over the years, and this is something that people in the nonprofit world, but also in the corporate world, probably you've heard this because it seems to be a very fashionable term these days, the theory of change. For people out there that may know what they think it is, or maybe they don't, what is the theory of change?
Well, I need to be really, really honest. And coming from an academic background, it took me a little bit of a time to get the grasp of what a theory of change is. So I get why people might be confused and also might actually, is a fancy new term that is coming more widely and used quite often nowadays. But what is in reality is in very simple terms, at the end of the day, is a story, is almost a road and also a roadmap that explains how an organization believes that its actions and also its work will create a positive change. And the positive change, we can call it the mission of the organization. So in simple terms, it links what an organization is doing today with the difference they want to make in the future. So it's almost a structured way of describing how, for example, an organization expects to achieve its mission. So there are a lot of tools out there, and people, if fancy to do some research, there are tools like logic models that have been widely used already. But the theory of change has addition to that, because instead of simply listing activities, the theory of change maps how the journey from what an organization does today to the long-term change it wants to create. But what it does also, it makes explicit assumptions behind this journey. So allows the organization to ask themselves why they believe that their work, their activities will lead to the desired outcomes and changes. So the thing I always recommend is when an organization wants to develop a theory of change, you need to think about it as a iterative and participatory process. So it's not just a one-off exercise. And also is not just the CEO or just one person in the organization that should be involved into this process, but also staff members, trustees, partners, and other stakeholders. They need to bring together different perspectives, because what the theory of change does is help organization challenge the assumptions, for example, but also building consensus and trying to develop a more realistic understanding of how change is expected to happen. And the last thing I would say is that I will just give an example, because sometimes we always speak like high, very theoretical, but not practical. So we imagine to have two organizations, so two different organizations, but they share the same mission, the same aim, and let's say is improve young people's mental well-being, for example. So the first organization might focus on providing, let's say, counseling services, because they believe that improving access to mental health support will lead to better well-being. But the other organization may just say, well, our activities, what we are going to deliver are going to be sports and community programs, because we believe that increasing the social connection, also increasing physical activity, movement, and confidence, that's the pathway to improve mental health. So both the organization will have a theory of change, and obviously their theory of change will look differently, even if they share the same long-term goal, the same long-term mission. But they have very different ideas about how the change happens. So the theory of change helps make those pathways clear to the public. I would say that's the best I could do in terms of trying to explain such what seems an overcomplicated topic, but at the end of the day is just the journey that an organization wants to do.
For me, and I've done similar things with organizations in North America and now here as well. To me, and if you listen to this and you're a small business owner or you have a large business or whatever, these concepts, these ideas are probably something you've had come up or you've seen come up in in different finance and business reports and all that kind of stuff. To me, it feels like everybody knows what a mission statement is. You can have a personal mission statement and a business mission. This is kind of theory of change is taking that mission statement and taking it to that next step, whatever that next step might be. And the thing that I learned with you is you've got your numbers and then you've got your stories and bringing them together to show to people to say, hey, this is what we're doing, whether it's your employee, your management team, or people that are funding your nonprofit. That to me really was where that came through. And this is something again, for business, but also, individually, if you've got things going on, because I just saw a meme the other day where it was 2019 talking to 2026 about all the change in the world that's happened. And if there's one thing that now we've all had so much change just over the last 5-10 years, we've all kind of had to deal with different things and different concepts. And what does this mean? And this leads to this. So I was really fascinated with this. You did mention off the top, though, that this is a business. This is something that you're doing. And I've just got to say, if you listen to this isn't someone that just walked in off the street here. You've got a PhD in this. And I know you don't really want to talk about this, but she's a doctor in this. And that really means something. So with that and with your business here, how can someone, if they're listening to this and they're like, okay, this sounds like something that could really maybe help my organization. What's that next step of if someone's never done this before, but they're interested in finding out more with their management team and their employees, how do you go about doing that?
Well, I would say if obviously I set up my business almost a year ago, so I'm quite soon going to celebrate my first business birthday, if that's the nice way to call it. Obviously, people I tend to post quite educational, or I would maybe call them informative social media posts. So people can either find me on Instagram or LinkedIn, and I've tried my best to do it weekly, and I share advice, suggestions, or practical example that I found during my work experience and how they could be applied. And I always quite talk about a lot about data and how data are used nowadays, because I think that's one big issue I'm currently facing my work, is that we live in a really busy world. So we are surrounded by information and data. So every day, for example, organizations, either private or third sector organizations, are asked to make decisions based on evidence to show their impact and show, for example, the work they do and the difference that this is making. However, I think the shift is that having access to information does not automatically mean that we have the right evidence to make good decisions. So I think one thing that I'm really seeing is that people sometimes think, oh, I have data, I have information, then I have evidence. But data and evidence are two different things. And the reason why, for example, I started my business in Empirica, I'm a researcher. That's my background, and the PhD it was my also the reason why I moved from Italy to here. So once I completed my PhD, and the more I was working with as a postdoc researcher with English universities, I realized that people need to understand that evidence is not just about having more information and more data, but it's about knowing what information is meaningful, reliable, as I would say also, how to interpret it and how to use it to guide real world decisions.
So, listen, if you listen to this, I know that was a lot. Okay. And when my experience here, again, just having done three of the workshops here with you, when you walk in, and if you're especially a nonprofit organization, if you've got challenges going on and you've got data, and you've got this, and you've come to a point where you're like, okay, what are we doing here? What's our next step? This is really perfect for you because, again, it sounds like a lot right now. Your first workshop is going to sound like a lot, but
Yeah,
then that light bulb's going to go off and you're going to kind of go, okay, I see this. And you hit on something right there where a critical friend, where there were moments where we would be working on something, you need to go, well, hang on a second, look at it from this way here, or what about this angle here? And throwing in those things that, and again, a critical friend, someone that can make you take a step back from you and your staff or your management team and say, look at it this way, in a way that probably you haven't
yeah,
thought of. That really opens up a whole nother window into challenges that your organization might be having. I really, at the end of it, felt really good because some of the things were things that I knew, and some of the things were things that I didn't know that I knew. I was like, oh, hang on a minute, I've experienced that before. And I was able to take some of my experience in business and broadcasting and everything and kind of, oh, this. And then other things, it was fascinating to me to see team members at their strength and where they were
yeah.
able to kind of really run with this. So this is very good. You mentioned your social media there. I would suggest everybody, and we're going to link up on your social media as well,
Thank you.
Empirica there. I like it because there's an awful lot of these, and I don't like using the word consultant types, but they're very
Yeah,
flashy and they're all over Instagram and they've got this and they've got that and they give you a little tease, but they don't actually give you any information. Um, for you, you're local here
yeah.
to the Stirling area, the Forth Valley area. They're your local, and you can actually be on site with people and
Yeah.
come to people, or they can, and all that kind of stuff. So I love that. So what is your social media again, just in case people miss that?
So is Empirica Research and Consulting is the same name for both Instagram and LinkedIn. Actually, also Facebook, even if it's the child that is not really well looked after out of the three social media. But I would say yes, I'm on all social media and also my website. I if I try my best to write blogs on my website that is www.empiricaresearchconsulting.co.uk. So I try to put in there things like again informative, educational, like and also quite trendy. So if I see, for example, someone talking about the theory of change, I might write a short article onto that and publish what is also more needed at the time. So I'm trying to keep up with also national trends and also information from, for example, funders, social impact, and all these words. But yeah, as you said, I think coming in, and obviously I've been running some workshops online, but being in person, that was really, really important to me. And I think it made a huge difference because obviously it's more engaging, but you had the chance to work as a team, and I was seeing all the teams dynamics that they were astonishing to see the knowledge and the awareness that people can achieve through just a 3 hour workshop. And you've built your own theory of change in just 3 hours. Obviously, it was a draft, but still, it's something that will stay with you. And I think, having engaging activities and trying to make these topics less boring or
Yeah.
more engaging is really,
Or
really
less
great.
challenging to me. It's less
Yeah,
challenging as well
sure.
because you make it something that was a mountain, and we kind of broke it down to the little bits there for
Yeah.
me. So I am a fan. And again, if you just search online, definitely on Instagram. Facebook is the same for us in the show. Where the Facebook, it is what it
Yeah.
is, but definitely on Instagram. And again, it's Empirca. Just search for that Fourth Valley Stirling, and it'll come up in your search, and you'll find it. We will have that linked up for you. You mentioned real quick here, and we're running out of time. Yeah, originally from Italy, and I've mentioned here on the show quite a few times. Sometimes I sound American. I'm not American, but I did spend a lot of time there. And my wife is just loving being here in Scotland. For
Yeah.
you, for your family, for your people, um, um, what have you found has been the best thing about being here in Scotland?
I think I especially can compare to this to Italy. Well, my usual joke is that I moved from Italy to Scotland just for the weather, but obviously that was not completely true. It was because of my academic career. I think that Scotland gave me networking opportunities and also a welcoming environment, and there are opportunities there. I've met so many, especially in just a year of being Empirica, having Empirica in the business world. I've met so many organizations that are doing great work and they are really making an impact, which is not, we don't have this kind of local organization in Italy. And that made me realize the need for me to use my skills and knowledge to actually help them doing even better or facilitate their work so that they can focus on doing more positive change instead of potentially using their time to actually do, overwhelming data collection or evaluation. They actually can save time and focus on the amazing work they are doing.
Well, you're just getting going here, and congratulations on having the business going for a year. I am a new fan. We will have that linked up for you, your business linked up, your social media
Thank
on
you.
our Sterling Talks Radio. We will have that linked up for you. So I'm a fan. We're definitely going to check in with you again. But I would really suggest everybody, you business organizations out there, you definitely check it out. Okay. And again, if you missed that, the best thing about coming to Scotland, not the weather.
No, no. Come to Italy for that.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Well, thank you so much. Again,
Thank you.
this is Sterling Talks.